Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Bob here. You had to really earn your way from the beginning, and you've been, persevered throughout. Whether it was in, U.S. Marine Corps and having to deal with an injury there, and coming back from that, taking advantage of the internet early on with GoDaddy, and now what you're doing with, Parsons Extreme with golf, and other areas too on the philanthropy side with your foundation that's been really helpful, including the earthquake in Haiti. I mean, you've been in so many areas been so impactful. So I'm excited to have you here and to break down your story.
All right. Well, my absolute pleasure to be here, Ben. Thank you.
Awesome. So, where did your passion initially for entrepreneurship and business leadership begin? Like, how did this start? Did you always think when you were young that I'm going to go and build a business?
There was times when I would do that, and but I always worked hard wherever I was, and the way I really began my entrepreneurship is because I had a boss that just, he and I didn't click. Like, for example, I think when I left, I hadn't had a wage review for 3 years. And I asked him about it all the time, and he'd say things like, "Oh, I'm going to get to it next week," or if you keep asking me about it, I'm never going to do it. Well, he was never going to do it anyhow. So I started working on writing code on this product called Money Counts, which was a home finance piece of software, which initially was, it wasn't bad to begin with, but it was a little buggy and so forth. And so I called it in my own mind Project Freedom. And so I started working on it, and and I tried selling it, and I put what money I had into this little business I called Parsons Technology in my basement, and and when I did that, I did everything wrong. I was like a young guy walking into jail for the first time. I imagine you learn a lot of lessons quick. Well, it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, because what you have to do to succeed, there's no book that's going to tell you. And typically the guys that write the books have never succeeded. You know what I mean? It's like, what the, can I use expletives?
Sure.
Fuck, what the fuck, And so, so that was, that's kind of the way that went. So anyhow, I started my business. I priced it kind of a little higher than it should have been. I think I could charge $129, something like that. And I had $25,000, which was all the money I had in the world, put it in this business, and tried selling it with little ads, and I had packaging made up that was totally wrong, and software was a bit buggy, and it just didn't, I burned through the whole 25,000.
Huh.
The second year, I had a money from my real job, and some credit cards, and what I got from tax breaks from losing the amount of money I had. Well, actually, I'm going to correct you. It was 15,000 the first year I lost. It was 25,000 the second year, but I pretty much lost the whole 25,000. But what I did, though, I kept working on the product and making it better and better and better. Whenever I'd get a complaint from a customer, I'd fix it, and it got to be pretty good. And then in the third year, I mean, I was broke. I mean, I didn't see any way that this business was going to succeed. And I even offered a buddy of mine. I said, the guy's name was Dave. I put on a whiteboard what I thought it would do, which interestingly enough was exactly what it did. And I said, I'll give you half of the business for $5,000, and then we'll see if we can't make this work together. And so he said, I'd like to think about it, come back a week later and said, now I'm going to pass. And I said, okay. And actually, I was kind of glad that he did. So what happened then is a couple months into the year, I had this company come to me that was a discount. I'd say it was a a rag that had nothing but ads for people selling computer equipment, software,
Mhm.
this sort of thing. And they said the outside front cover of this magazine, the outside front cover, like if this was the magazine, this page would be where my ad would be. It's like being on the cover of Time. Only this wasn't exactly Time. Um, so they said, we'll sell it to you for $5,000. And I didn't even have the money. I didn't have the money then. And so I went ahead and um, I went ahead and um, bought the ad. And my deal was I'd have it. I need to have copy artwork in 1 week. I did. I had this art firm buy it from me. I mean, I didn't have money to pay anybody. And so this thing went out. And what I did was I dropped the price of the software to $12.
Huh.
And it's and when I did that, I took it, it went down, at earlier times, to 89, to 69, 49. And I think that was 49 then. And I dropped it to $12. And I said, look, most software is copy protected. This is not copy protected. Most software, they said you can only make one backup copy. I said, make as many as you want. They said you can't give it to your friends. I said, give it to everybody you want. I said, do any damn thing you want with this software. Just send me $12. And so the ad worked in spades. And I mean, this was the old picture where they show somebody's mail order business where go where the mailbox is stuffed to overflowing. That's the way this was. Holy smokes! And so I made, like, I don't know, had 20 grand in sales from that ad. And so what I learned was it wasn't little ads, it was big ads that worked, because
Huh.
big ads denote, that, you have some substance. And so that's what I did. And then I contacted all the big computer pubs, used these guys, the Computer Bargain Line, as a reference. And they all gave me credit. Made money, at least double my money on every ad, if not tripled. I started doing comparisons on the same page, and I mean that like, another, like 2x for everything, 2x of the previous 2x. So I mean, and it worked. So that first year, I made 257,000.
Huh.
I quit my job. Had I stayed with my job, I quit my job in October. Had I stayed there a couple of more months to the end of the year, I'd have got a $50,000 bonus.
Mm.
But I was on to writing the code for a tax software program to do a 1040. I got the thing done in late January, and made some jingle on that, and I've never worked for anybody since. That's how it went.
So when you were building it, Bob, it became, I think, 1,000-person company at a point. When after you sold it, I think you sold it for 64 million. Like, what did you think you were going to do with your life? I mean, you probably could have retired or done whatever, but you started multiple other businesses after. Like, why continue
Well,
going?
I didn't know. My then current wife um, helped me decide, because she booted me out the door, and I had PTSD pretty good, and so I took, and we had this little vacation house in Arizona, in Scottsdale, at the Boulders Resort. You remember the Boulders?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
and so I went there. I moved to Arizona, and I just thought I'd play golf, and because I had a non-compete where I really couldn't do anything. It was pretty tight, and so they were holding some money back, and not them, but somebody was holding it, a law firm, and so after I honored the non-compete, then I decided that, man, first of all, my golf game didn't get any better. Um, and golf is that way. I then decided I wanted to be involved in the internet. I decided I wanted to just be involved and have something on the line, be playing the game. And so what I did was I started a small company, and eventually I named it GoDaddy. And I had, at that time, I had 36 million. And I mean, we're doing all sorts of things. Nothing worked. And it was hard to really see if it was getting any traction because the noise from the dot-com boom back then was so loud. It was, I couldn't buy advertising at any price. And the prices you had to pay were stupid. I mean, these companies are making $3, $4 on an ad, a customer, and they're paying $80. It was bound to fail. And everything was cash burn then. Oh, what's your cash burn? What's your cash burn? You're not pushing enough if you don't have cash burn. Well, see, for me, they were burning banks' money and investors' money and equity firms' money. Me, I was burning my money, and so I was a little more cognizant of that. So what happened was I I would keep track of how well the company's doing by how much money I had. So I started with 36 million because my wife and I did a divide by two, and that's what she got. She deserved every nickel of it, putting up with my dumb ass. And then I took and we finally found the one thing we found that worked was websites, building websites. And this is back when almost nobody had a website. And so we started building websites, and we were charging $8,000 a site. But you really couldn't make any money because first it took a while to build them, and then it didn't scale because you couldn't do it in your sleep. So what we did was we wrote a software program that we called back then Website Complete, and then eventually, when I sold GoDaddy, it was Website Tonight, and I don't know what they changed the name to something. I don't know what it is, but the idea was people would buy a domain, and then what we did was, as we were completing these websites, and the people were completing their own websites, they needed domain names. So we decided to become a domain name registrar, and it took us a year to get the code all done and how we were going to do it. And then it took us, in addition to the year, $1 million in bonds and that sort of stuff we had to do. And we finally got it done in 2000. And we sold almost no domain names.
Really?
And the idea was people would buy the domain name, and then because we sold them really cheap, when they would buy the domain name, they would come and get it cheap, and they buy the software, and that was right as rain. So anyhow, so that worked. I mean, it didn't. I mean, it would have worked, but the noise from the dot-com boom was so loud. So I believed in what we were doing. And so I keep track of how much cash we had. Went from 36 million to 32 million to like 28 to 24 to 20 to 15, and it got all the way down to $6 million. And that was in early 2001. And then I thought, well, wow, man, I don't even see a light at the end of the tunnel here. What am I going to do? So I always keep my own counsel, and I keep my own counsel, and I don't tell anybody what I'm going to do until I actually decide that I do. And that's really served me well. I decided to go to Hawaii, to this resort, to decide how I was going to shut the company down, and then it was GoDaddy, how I was going to shut it down, how I was going to pay everybody severance, how I was going to sell the assets,
Wow.
and then what was I going to do? And I thought, well, we'll just see. So as I was in Hawaii thinking about it, right? I mean, I was there for about 2, 3 days, and every time went on, I didn't want to sell the company, didn't want to sell the company. And the epiphany for me happened. This guy came, he was parking cars, and the guy's happy as a lark, throwing his keys up in the air. How you doing, Mr. Parsons? This, that, and the other thing, and happy as could be. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with this picture? This guy's parking cars. He's probably broke. He couldn't be happier, right? I got $6 million and I'm miserable.
Huh.
That sucked. so it occurred to me that, you know what, the money don't matter. I'll go back and I'll just keep going, doing what I'm doing. Matter of fact, I looked at it like a ship. I said, I'll strap myself to the mast, and if it goes down, I'll go down with it. And, at worst, I'll park cars. I could be happy doing that. I can drive a stick real good. So it just wouldn't be an issue. So I went back, and this was probably March 2001, and the dot-com crash happened. And when the dot-com crash happened, GoDaddy was born. I mean, we had companies that we were doing business with that would disappear every week, and I mean, we'd send them checks, and the checks would come back undeliverable. I mean, it was the damnedest thing. And then all of a sudden, the people that that we were trying to buy advertising from, and they wouldn't sell it at any price, were standing in line to give it to me. And so we started advertising that way. Didn't pay much for it. A lot of it was free. And we became cash flow positive in October 2001, and never missed a month since. And when I sold the company, our worldwide share of domain names was about 75%.
Incredible. How did Bob, how did your unique marketing strategy come about? Like, you had these really interesting type of ads that got a lot of traction. Like you mentioned early on, that was kind of what you did with the accounting software too a bit, but GoDaddy had its, it had a life of its own in these ads. How did that strategy come about?
What were you talking about? TV ads?
Yeah, the
And
TV
the
ads.
Super Bowl ads?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. All right. Well, the way that worked is, we were moving along. We had about a 16% market share, and I mean, we had stuff organized to a T. I mean, I'm a Marine. I like things looking like a Marine Corps barracks, and so everything, just so that way, the way we treat our customers and so forth. I mean, we don't treat them like they're Marines, but we treat them like it's very important what we're doing to make sure they're right. I believe that, the customer's not always right, but the customer is always the customer. And so customer doesn't have to be right. Anyhow, so we had competitors, and our competitors, they just, they back then, all those domain companies were run by engineers, and the engineers that ran the companies were, I mean, they weren't business people. I mean, their systems were terrible. Their prices were stupid high. I mean, the customer policies were not great. And so I couldn't understand how they were still writing business, and they're selling domain names for $49, $89, $129. I'm selling mine for $8.95. And it's the same exact product. It's the same exact thing. Right.
Uh-huh.
And yet, they're writing all this business. And I mean, I'm writing a good amount of business, but those customers that are coming to them should be coming to me. So I hired a market research firm because I was too close to it to see it. And they said the reason you're not selling to to these to all these customers is they don't know you exist. You only advertise on the internet, and they don't. That's not how they they'll never see your ads. They said you need to start doing conventional media. And so, they meant, like our traditional media, magazines, TV, radio, that sort of thing. So this was in August. And I thought, wow, we had a $10 million war chest and the Super Bowl was right around the corner. I said, let's do a Super Bowl ad. And that was the beginning. That's how it all happened. Now, the way our ads got to be a little spicy was I was sitting there thinking, wow, the Super Bowl, you got to, we've all been to Super Bowl parties. People aren't exactly watching the ads, right? They're watching the game. And so what I decided, I kept thinking, I got to have something that people want to talk about the next day. So I was watching TV then one night with my then wife, and I seen an ad for Mike's Hard Limeade, and the ad featured a guy sitting at a bar down by the end of the bar, and where the bar ends and goes, kind of 90 degrees into the wall. There was three very attractive women sitting there, and so they're looking at this guy, and this guy looks at his Mike's Hard Limeade, and he's got a couple drops in the bottom. So rather than lifting it up and drinking them down, he has about a 12-inch tongue that he snakes down in there, slides it around, and pulls it out. And then he looks at the girl smiling. And the one girl in the middle goes, I want one of those. So I said, that's it. We got to have something, very interesting like that. So what happened was when we went to do our ad, I found the company that did that ad. Okay. And the company was called The Ad Store. Guy's name is Paul Capelli. Paul's now in heaven. And, and so, they were excited to do our ad. And so Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake had that wardrobe malfunction the Super Bowl before. You remember that? Mm-hmm. So I said, "Hey, let's spoof it." So we got this. We did the ad where it is, and it looks like a court setting, but there's supposedly the ad review board, and we found I had 500 women interviewed for. Did the casting call. And the one they selected was the absolute last one. And these guys said to me, they call me and they go, Bob, we just found your next ex-wife. Wow. Well, I hope not. And so anyhow, we take and the ad, the ad when we did it, we spoofed it. She gets up, Candace, as it was perfect. She stands up and she's wearing a tank top and a strap snaps and she catches it. Nothing, it's not like she shows anything, right? Mm-hmm. And you see more to, you nothing, there was nothing naughty about it. So, and it snapped while she's dancing around, and so forth. And these guys on the ad review board are having a heart attack. So we submitted to Fox, immediately rejected. And so we went to work to get it accepted. We got it accepted a week before the Super Bowl. We come down to the wire. And Candace, we shot Candace at distance, at large distances. Her cleavage was always blurred. A lot of it was shot from the back, So, I mean, you've seen absolutely nothing. And so anyhow, I mean, the final line in it was, I mean, Candace very well endowed, and, when somebody asked her, they goes, are they real? She goes, no, they're really expensive. And so she she takes, and the woman on the ad review board says, those are not real. And immediately they reject that. And then the line that we had to use was, may I suggest a turtleneck? And that was the ad. And then we did an internet only version, which was the way it should have been, which still, I mean, it was the way it should have been, but you didn't see anything. I mean, you see 100 times that now and on TV. But anyhow, it got approved. And after it got approved, the guy who was my contact at Fox said to me, you won't buy another ad? I said, another ad? I said, I don't have time to make another ad. He goes, just run this one twice. I said, what's the deal? Well, the spot they had was just before the 2-minute warning. And I mean, they made me a smoking deal for it. So I said, sure. So we did, and they approved my ad in writing twice. So fast forward to the Super Bowl. The first ad runs in the first quarter, and the other one's just before the 2-minute warning. And the ad, when it ran, I mean, the traffic from the internet, I mean, the building shook, but it held. We really boosted our servers and all that. Nothing went down. And I mean, we couldn't believe all the business that we got. And then
Really?
when it came time for the 2-minute warning, I think it was the Patriots with Philadelphia, and it was a goal line stand. It was a third. It was third down, right on. I mean, like right on the 2-yard line, and they needed to get through to lead the game, and then they take a commercial break because they did Philly did a timeout, or the Patriots did, and so they take a commercial break, and we expect to see our ad, and we think, can we be any luckier? And instead of our ad, what we see is you have a Fox network ad for The Simpsons, and in the ad, Homer is stabbing a baby. I mean, you can't make this up. He's stabbing a baby, which in America is much more acceptable than having a tank top strap pop. Yeah, we're good with that, but you better keep her covered up. Anyhow, we figured maybe it's the next one. It never runs. So I get in touch with the head of Fox Sports, and he says to me, he says, yeah, I know. He says, I've been waiting for your call. He goes, look, your first ad, your ad was out of tenor with the rest of the ads. And, it's just, we just couldn't run it again. He says, he'll call me Monday, or that was tomorrow, and let me know what you want. I said, okay. So I went back to my office. I mean, people in my office are stomping around going, they can't do this, that, the other thing. And, I don't get upset like that. So I turned to the guy, and he says, a guy next to me who's my chief of staff, and I said to him, can we be this lucky? And I said, let's write a blog article and tell everybody what happened. So we did. And my God, it got picked up. It never happened before. It got picked up all over the world. So the next day, so I was doing interviews from morning to night. I mean, from sun up to sundown, talking about this, and everybody's going like, my God, what happened? What you doing? And so it was picked up by every radio station, every TV station, every newspaper, a lot of magazines, and I did an ad with I mean, I was on TV with Bill O'Reilly. I was on CNN. I did other news shows. Candace went on the Today Show and the Tonight Show, and then she went on Howard Stern. And I said, Candace, don't you dare get in that Super Soaker. or a spanker. Yeah, that Stern uses. She goes, I won't, Bob. She was true to her word. She didn't. And although he yeah, old Howard tried. Um, and then so at the end of the week, we were on a conference call with Fox, and I mean, we didn't have to pay for the ad that didn't run, of course, and then we didn't have to pay for the ad that did run.
Huh.
And then, I thought, well, I'll settle with now I'll settle with the NFL, but they had a deal in there that covered the NFL also. So I'm thinking, my God, I need something else. I need to ask for something else because I know they'll give it to me. And Ben, I couldn't think of anything. And this is what I thought of. I said, give me 2 game balls from every Super Bowl. And they go, done. Well,
Wow.
What happened was our market share from that one ad went from 16% to 25% worldwide and held. And so and the media coined the term GoDaddy girl and the term GoDaddy-esque, which we used all the time. When somebody ran an ad that they thought was a little too spicy or inappropriate, they always showed our ad first. And I thought, oh man, how can I be this lucky? Or they mentioned our ad on a newscast or something. It's a very GoDaddy-esque ad. And so I became the brigand of the internet. And so every year we did the same exact thing. A couple of years we came close to bringing down the entire internet. And then it got to be where, they standards and practices, whoever was doing it would have a hard time with their ad. So what we did was we did an ad that they could accept. And in an ad they could accept, everybody's looking forward to watching our ad on the internet and how to get it. And I mean, and the traffic was tremendous. It actually, made the company. And Danica Patrick, worked with us on it. She was wonderful to work with. What a classy person. And that's kind of how GoDaddy was born.
Why did you kind of decide that you wanted to leave? I mean, you had, great fun. You're building something interesting. Why did you want to move to something else? Sell your stake and then leave as executive chairman.
So why did I decide to do it? What was called the search fund?
Well, why did you decide to kind of leave GoDaddy?
Oh, I got to the point where, it is too many moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
And, wasn't as fun as it used to be. I mean, that got to be the case when we got up to around 5,000-6,000 employees. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not the monopoly man.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was when I decided to move on. Now, during the whole time I owned GoDaddy, after we had that Super Bowl ad, I had people come waving cash at me. First it was 50 million, then 250, 500, 1 million, I mean, 1 billion. And I just never, just didn't want it because, I wanted to just continue with it. I seen that it had a, big future. And so, so I went ahead and hired Frank Quattrone, a Catalyst. He represented us. And, after a few false starts, Frank landed the guys from Silver Lake, KKR, and TCV. Three good private equity firms, and so I sold them 71% of the company. I kept 29, and you know what? And it worked out. I could not have had better partners there. Those guys are the best. KKR and TCV are okay. Silver Lake, cream of the crop.
Why did you kind of decide to move into PXG and create your own extreme golf place and start owning all this commercial real estate? You just why now shift to outside of tech and doing something a bit different?
Well, I had about I had a couple $1 billion. I had to do something with it, and and so we had a hedge fund, still have a hedge fund, and in my idea of a hedge fund is I'm interested in dividends, I'm interested in interest, and maybe some capital appreciation, but I'm mostly interested in things that throw off cash. And for that, nothing beats shopping malls. We were fortunate enough to have a guy come to us that had a ton of experience and good credentials doing that. He still heads up our shopping malls today. And so that was just something that we did as an investment. But by us doing it, we do them right. And we have many tenants that have an open deal with us that whenever we buy a new shopping mall, they want first dibs on getting a spot. If any, as they open up. We advertise for them. Our maintenance is crackerjack on the spot. We keep them very clean, deal with any problems right out of the gate. So nobody runs them like we do. And that is something that you will find, which is across from all the companies that we own. Our motorcycle dealerships, our class operations, they got the merchandising is second to none. The sales to the customer, we treat them like they're people and they matter. Those sorts of things. The reason I did PXG, I like golf. The reason I own a bunch of motorcycle dealerships, I like motorcycles. So I do things I like, and that keeps my interest. And, my father always told me when you love something, tells you all its secrets.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Bob, just the last question that I have, why did you decide to join the Giving Pledge and commit to give half your wealth to charity? Why did you want to do that?
What, the Giving Pledge?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I signed the Giving Pledge is because my wife, Renee, who I just, she's the best. That's what she wanted to do. And so, that's what I did, you married?
No.
Well, if you do, do what she wants you to do or he wants you to do, there you go.
Sounds good. Well, Bob, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think there's a lot people can learn, and they should definitely check out your new book, Fire in the Hole. You've lived so far an incredible life, and there's definitely a lot people can learn from you. So thanks for coming on.
All right, buddy. I sure appreciate it. Fire in the hole, baby.